So you have arrived here at our Building Relationships with Students in an Online Environment presentation. We've been doing a little gathering activity of trying to get a general sense of how people are feeling about going into this new and exciting year using a tool called Menti. Someone asked the question of, is it Ed Law 2D compliant? Does not require the students, if you would utilize it with them, to enter any kind of information. You as the teacher do have to set up an account, so you would want to check with your administration on whether that's acceptable. But otherwise, it is a pretty cool tool. I saw it in use at a conference. I especially like the ability to create questions and then have the answers presented as a word cloud. And then there's other types of questions available. We're going to do another one that's kind of a short answer sort of thing at the end. So I'm Laura Yeager, a member of the Millrick Model Schools team, as well as Brittany Gaffney, who's joining us here today and acting as my lovely assistant. I've been a member of the Model Schools team for a little over 20 years now. Was looking at just a couple of years until I'm looking at a couple of years until retirement, and didn't realize quite how exciting those couple of years were going to end up being. But here we are. So you all read the description. I wanted to toss it in here to just give you a general idea of what we were going to be covering, but given the signups that we had, I think you're all on the fact that we are all working so hard to try to get the kids physically back to the building, because we know that their social and emotional health is definitely suffering during this time of COVID-19. So I've tried to come up with some ideas and thoughts to share with you today to help you with whatever kind of scenario you're going to end up with in the fall, be it online, in-person, hybrid, whatever. And I'm hoping that the ideas could be adapted for those different settings. Thought I'd start out with a little quote from an article in here. There is a link out to the full article if, when I share this presentation at the end, you would like to read more, but it talks about that. Think of building relationships with your students and parents as building a foundation for a home. If you begin with relationships as your prerequisite to learning, you're likely to live in that house for a long time. We know that the bedrock of what we're going to need to establish with the kids so that we can be successful with them in person, online, hybrid, whatever it may be, is to get those relationships built as early as possible. And it's going to be a challenge, as will everything that we do this fall, but I've got hopefully some tips and tricks and ideas for you to share here. And I want to start out with the theme of establishing clear channels for communication with your students and families. But I want to throw a little humor in where I can. So you probably saw this floating around Facebook and online. So your kids can figure out Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and Twitter. They can spend 8 hours plus a day on the video game until they beat the whole thing, but they can't figure out to upload an assignment to Google Classroom. Interesting. Please tell me more. So getting into some of the tools that you might use for communicating with your students, with your families, with your community. Remind is something that has been in use for a while now and seems to keep continuing to add to their features. And Parent Square is a new RIC-supported tool similar to Remind, giving you the ability to kind of meet your families and your students where they live on their mobile devices. So you are able to communicate via text, via email, via voice with them. I don't have it yet because the service is so new that our technology planning specialists are still creating the flyer for it, but I'm going to link a flyer about Parent Square as soon as they share that with me sometime this week to this presentation. And I will be sharing the presentation, the Google slide deck, with you when we're done. So on that theme of communicating, one of the things that are this list of things that you want to share with your students and parents are clear expectations for the year. And doing that in the form of an orientation video, if you're not going to be seeing your students either at all or only every other day or whatever, using tools like Screencastify or even just recording yourself on your phone or whatever. I had to learn early in this crisis to get over my camera shyness and just dive in and start making videos. I know we don't necessarily like to see ourselves or hear ourselves, but the kids and the families so appreciate seeing your smiling face. And there are tools like Screencastify, which has a Google extension, Google Chrome extension, which allows you very easily to record your screen, include yourself on a webcam. So if you did need to walk your students through what your virtual environment is going to look like, show them and explain to them how you're going to distribute lessons and assignments, explain due dates, the turn-in process. These are definitely going to be different this fall than in the spring. In the spring, since we were all thrown into this so suddenly, a lot of pass-fail grading was taking place, and I think that will be changing considerably here in the fall. So making sure that you communicate your expectations and how those expectations need to be met to your students. Explain any policies from the school, like privacy, acceptable use, recording, etc., in the things that you're doing with them, and set clear expectations about communication, how they can communicate with you, how they can find help, and start to teach them the acceptable language to communicate in the formal setting. I've heard so much from business people that kids go out into the world and they don't know how to formulate an email. They can text up a storm and do all kinds of informal communication, but doing a formal email using proper grammar and spelling and punctuation and whatever is good to be working with your students on, as well as other digital citizenship kind of reminders. Simple way to be communicating with your students through your Google Classroom is using the announcements feature in Google Classroom. You also want to make sure that you and your students know how you can comment on their assignments, on their individual documents that they may be submitting, how you can post announcements just to specific students, so you can be having kind of private conversations within this more public to the rest of the class tool. And I do link here to an article about ways to use announcements in Google Classroom. Another way that seems to have become a craze for communicating with your students and giving them an interface for connecting with whatever resources you're sharing with them, like your Google Classroom, is Bitmoji, making a Bitmoji virtual classroom. This links out to a website with an example and some tutorials on how to do so. And then one of my favorite sites for getting Google slide templates is Slidesmania. And they actually have an interactive slide template for creating a file cabinet where the days of the week are drawers, and then as you click on them, it takes you to a slide where it looks like you've opened up a folder, then opened up a piece of paper, and could be a way to organize and communicate to your students what's going to be happening in your classroom. Then classroom introductions are always an important part of building relationships and something that you do when the kids arrive in the fall, but we have to get much more creative when we don't know exactly how and when we're going to be seeing our students. But throw in a little humor here. Look, why are the humans all wearing muzzles? So about me posters, using different tools such as Google Drawings or Google Slides. This link actually takes you out to, Google has some applied digital skills lesson plans, and they have one about making about me posters that this links out to. This was a young gentleman that I think he has his own website or blog, and I grabbed his example, but he simply used shapes in Google Drawing and then some text boxes and all to create his About Me poster. This is another example of using Google Drawings to create an About Me, and uses a lot of the different features of Google Drawing. So I've included here a link to a Google Drawings tutorial for you. And this is an example of being able to put in shapes and pictures and word art and words to share information about yourself. And that's an important piece, that in this classroom introductions activity that you're doing, introducing yourself as well as having the students introduce themselves is a great idea. This Google Slide template was created by Beardsley Teach. Mrs. Beardsley came up with a nice plan, and I shared the template with you of questions to have the students complete. It has a little note here that you would be able to delete when you go to use the template, but telling you that, you know, you can change these questions as you need to serve your specific population or age group or whatever, but has lots of questions for the kids to fill in about themselves, and then gives them some directions where first they fill it out, they include a selfie, their name, etc. And then this is meant to be a shared Google slide deck where all the kids would be collaborating. So then the second part is they need to go and comment on others' slides. And she does ask that they comment on at least 10 slides, with 5 of them being people that you don't know already, and at least 5 people who are the opposite gender, to kind of mix it up a bit. And you could change that up, but I like her idea of trying to make sure that they're not going to just comment on their friends, or there's not just going to be certain kids that are getting comments. And just like you would in your physical classroom, in your digital collaborations, you may need to do a little prodding to make sure that everyone is getting comments and feedback and all. This is a HyperDoc, and HyperDocs, we've got some tutorials available on that. Some of my colleagues think have done some activities and workshops on it, and I'm not even sure. Let's see. I'm linking out to a YouTube HyperDocs tutorial here, and here is a link to a template of having the kids complete this document about their hopes and dreams as the kind of their introduction to the class. And it'd be neat for them then to go back later in the year and review this too, to see if what they indicated as some of their goals for the year come true. And then the task of trying to learn student names, you learning the students' names, the students learning each other's names. I found this simple little word search maker where you could plug in your students' names, just copy and paste them in, and generate a word search that might help you start becoming familiar with their names. And then I think I actually stole this idea yesterday watching one of my favorite tech gurus, Matt Miller, who has the website Ditch That Textbook. He was talking about doing unboxing videos. I'm going to show you a quick clip
kids,
here.
Today we are opening this box to see merch cubes.
One of my amazing colleagues, Allison Blackwell, does these unboxing videos here in Mount Markham, where I happen to be at the moment, where, I'm going to pause this now. She has the students use some of the STEM equipment that we have available at the RIC and do unboxing videos related to that. But as Matt was presenting this idea of creating unboxing videos, people were throwing out different suggestions of how it might be used now. Having kids create an unboxing video about themselves where they put things that are important to them into the box, and their unboxing video is them opening up and taking out and explaining why those things are important to them. Or they talked about creating kind of a time capsule sort of thing. If I were to do a time capsule unboxing video for someone to look at in the future, I would, of course, be including some of my masks that I'm getting quite a collection of, because they're definitely going to be part of our lives in the next little bit. So here is a link to a website where Allison shared some of the top winning unboxing videos from her project here, if you'd like to see more about those or watch this one in its entirety. And then this I happened to discover I had saved on Facebook and put in here at the last minute this morning. It was talking about, kind of a standard project is what did you do on your summer vacation? And it was pointing out that a lot of kids don't necessarily get a summer vacation, or they've been on summer vacation since March, but it isn't sunshine and roses and something that they're going to be excited to talk about. So instead of doing the standard, what did you do over the summer, had some other suggested questions. What do you love about learning, etc., that might be a little more uplifting to them at this time. Then moving on from classroom introductions into building classroom unity, all of a sudden everybody has become Sheldon. As our little humor break. Another guru that I have followed for years and years and years and years, Tony Vincent, who has a webpage called Learning in Hand, has some amazing resources. And he happened to repost via Twitter recently his project, where it was actually a couple of years ago, that he didn't want his class to just be referred to as Mr. Vincent's 5th grade or whatever. So when they came in, he had his room all set up as under construction. You could do the same theme in a virtual kind of setting, but then he had the kids create posters about themselves in Google Slides, and then they analyzed those and tried to come up with some common themes that were coming out, like they all like to play video games or whatever. Then they started researching the branding of some of those things that they were into, like video games. And they ended up developing a classroom brand. They were called the Pixel Paws. They created the graphic and all. He took it one step further and made t-shirts and 3D printed things out and whatever. But I thought it was kind of a neat idea, a way to bring the class together. And I do have a link here to his webpage and his article telling more about this project. In this article, 5 Ways to Build a Community of Learners Online, they talked about that it's such good practice to engage the students in the norm setting process for your classroom. And I think especially this year when our standard rules are not going to be so standard anymore, that tapping into their creativity, these are the basic school rules. This whole, we try to keep our classroom clean, oh boy, that's going to have quite a few additional points, I think, that will need to go with it. I do link out to where I located this graphic, but wanted to toss that out there as an idea that you get the students involved in helping you figure out how we are going to manage this new normal. Another idea that I found in the intensive research that I did about this whole going back to school under these new circumstances, and trying to connect with your students. If you are creating a Bitmoji classroom kind of thing, and I just used this particular example because she did have a lot of framed images. The idea that I read about was having your students create digital art to hang up in that digital virtual classroom. So I link here to a template where someone pulled together some cute little frames that the students can use to create their digital art. They could make a decorative name tag or some kind of digital picture or whatever, and then you could make that part of your virtual Bitmoji classroom. And I do have a link out to a Bitmoji classroom tutorial here too. Then another way to get your students involved in creating a community is having them complete notes of gratitude. I adapted this from some resources provided by Panorama Education, and made for you here. And a number of the Google documents that I created and shared with you will force you to make a copy when you click on them. I think I managed to do that on all of them. If there's any that you have issues accessing, feel free to reach out to me. I had my email at the beginning of the presentation. We'll share it again at the end. So do feel free to reach out. But as you click on these, it should force you to make a copy, and then you're able to use it, adapt it, do what you need to from there. But with this one, they fill in their name and the date. They can type in, or if they've written it in another document, copy and paste their note of gratitude in here, or they could even handwrite it or draw it out depending on their circumstances or their grade level or whatever, and take a picture of it and upload it here. While I'm thinking of it, you as the teacher, and probably to most of your students, I would recommend that on your phone, on your mobile device, that you do have Google Classroom installed and Google Drive installed, so that you can easily take pictures, you know, either pictures of your face, pictures of your paper, whatever, pictures of your work, and be able to then easily upload them to Google Classroom or put them into Google Drive so that you could submit them in Google Classroom. And then the final question here on this Google form is whether they want it to be kept private or can be shared. And then those that the students have indicated they're willing to share, you could put together into a Google slide deck, and I've included a template here for you for doing that. Then encouraging peer-to-peer support and collaboration. Well, it's quarantine day again. I hope I'm not showing my age in sharing this Groundhog Day movie reference, but if you haven't seen it, it's pretty funny. The day, Groundhog's Day, keeps happening over and over and over again to Bill Murray, and I think we all kind of feel like that with quarantine days. So an idea that I read about, I believe in this article of 5 ways to build a community of online learners, was just like you might in your classroom, in a virtual way, have the kids try to reach out and depend on each other where they can. So you could create a Google Doc where students could post their class questions and help each other. Helps establish a sense of community and helps them feel empowered, which is also an effective motivator, which means I'll share this idea in my workshop on Thursday about motivating students. And you could even have students create video tutorials to explain to those who are struggling. They've all, or many of them, have mobile devices on which they could record themselves, and they could explain and then insert into a Google document or Google slide deck or whatever their video. And then digital escape rooms are always a great team building experiment. And this is something that they could do in the classroom physically, outside of the classroom, while you're in a Google Meet or a Zoom or whatever. And I do have a link here to some information from Matt Miller at Ditch That Textbook about creating digital escape rooms. And I actually have a link to this specific one called Exit, Team Building Experiment. I went through it, it's pretty fun. You have to click all around on this within this picture here to get to the different clues if you're struggling at the beginning with how to get started. But it is a fun one and could be good to kick off the year with the kids. And then using the features of Google that allows you to have the students work collaboratively on things. This is an assignment. I've shared the template with you. My wonderful colleague, Allison Blackwell, created around the literacy circles topic, where this is a Google slide deck that she would share with all of the students. They have to read the article that's linked here, then they choose a role. The roles are explained on another slide, and then they have to go to their slide, add in their name, and then complete their role as summarizer or illustrator or connector. And I do have a link to something here, I've forgotten exactly what, that's going to give you more information about Google Classroom collaboration. Then, if you are doing synchronous communications with your students using Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, this, we need a little humor break. Oop, here we go. Oh no, we need sound. There we go.
So excited to see you. Hi. Oh yeah, you have a dog. Yeah, she's so cute. Aw, hi puppy. Oh, you have a dog. Well, don't be careful with your, wow, you have a cat. Aw, everyone has pets to show. Awesome. You have a lizard. You have a snake. Nope. Out. Jordan, do you want to try and maybe like turn your camera up so that I'm not looking up your nose? No. You don't. This is kind of like my office. You don't need to see the rest of my house. Oh, you don't have to ask if you can go to the bathroom.
I see Janet's comment.
It's your house. But wash your hands. No, don't bring your computer into the bathroom. No one needs to see that. No. All right. Happy Wednesday. It's Thursday? Wow. Sorry, the days are kind of blended together here. Yes, I do see you have your pajamas on today. Cool. Oh, you have pajamas on too. Yeah, they're SpongeBob. Ooh, yeah, rainbow unicorn pajamas. Wow, everyone's yelling what their pajamas are. Okay, awesome. All right, I have a huge announcement. I'm so excited to share. Oh, you can't? Okay, well, my headphones are plugged in. You can't hear me, so hello? 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 Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? All right, so everybody sees this right here. What we're gonna do is, oh, it's backwards? Okay, so let's try it like this. Is that better? So that assignment is gonna be on Google. Your mom has a question? No. You don't need to take me to your mom. It's no. We're in the, okay. Hi, Mrs. Clark. Yeah. Do you think that we could talk later? Guys, we're not taking our time to talk about Minecraft right now. No, I do not play Minecraft. So no, on the Minecraft, let's talk about it later. Let's focus. No to Pokemon too. We're not talking about Pokemon right now. Okay, hey, so I'm literally teaching a class right now. Oh my, whoa! Hi guys, sorry about that. Yeah, no, this is my fancy office when everyone else is being so loud in my house. Talk about fractions during. Who is listening to Post Malone? So, like, is that necessary? Wow. So just apply what we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes or so and put that work. Oh, you just logged in, so you didn't hear any of that lesson there. Awesome. Okay, so I'll just go over that again. Yep. Wow, you guys are all talking at the same time. It's like we're actually in our classroom. I miss you guys.
So I think that about sums it up. After all of that, she does really miss her students, and I know that all of you do. So I've included some documents that you might want to share with your students about if you are conducting video calls, how they might best do that, from checking in with the teacher, being on time, et cetera, et cetera. All of these do link either to, oops, about that, to where I found them, or articles that I located them on, or articles giving you more ideas about using Google Meet or Zoom or whatever tool is the tool of choice in your district. This is one that I recreated from something I found online, and do have this one and this one available in a Google slide deck if you'd like to take and utilize. One of my friends, Allison Blackwell, created this one for the littles to basically give them the mute your microphone, use the chat to ask questions, or raise your hand if you do have a question, so that we can try to keep order. And this one is a little more extensive document for the older students on online etiquette during Zoom or whatever virtual setting you're using. Some ideas for using the video calls other than just instructions. just doing basic class check-ins where you do something fun, just kind of check in, make sure everybody's doing well. And especially now that you're going to have, you're possibly have part of your students at home, part of your students there, and maybe having some check-ins where you actually get both cohorts together might be nice. Having the students utilize it to present some kind of work that they have been doing with you. And again, that might be a way to connect the two different cohorts if you do only have half of your class there at a time. Different weird little things have struck me during this pandemic. At one point in the spring, I heard something about dance studios, and it struck me that, although my daughter's 25 and hasn't been a dancer for a number of years, that all of those kids and parents that were going to be missing out on that end of the year big event of the dance recital. And the other day, as I was preparing for this, I thought of, what about those kids that are so excited to be back to school, but their best friends ends up in the other half of the rotation and they never get to see them? So using the tools that we have at our disposal, synchronous communication or having them collaborate on things online might be a way to help them through those feelings. Virtual field trips, bringing up Google Earth or Google Maps. A number of my colleagues have done some webinars on those topics and how you might utilize that. Escape rooms, like I shared previously. Having teachers connect with teachers. So using Zoom and Meet to collaborate with your own colleagues. Checking in with the parents, doing review games. If you're able to use a tool like, what is it? I think Nearpod is EdLaw 2D compliant, but Pear Deck is not. I believe I have that in the right order. Using tools like that allow you to create interactive slides, or you may be able to create your own interactive slides, not quite as slick, but things that you could do with Google Slides. And then this was just kind of a fun graphic. This link here from the Diary of a Not So Wimpy Teacher takes you to her full article talking about some of the different things that you could do in the virtual classroom setting. Games that you could play, things that you could use for conversation starters, telling them they have X number of they may use X number of Lego bricks, doing Mad Libs. There's a tool called flippity.net. I did a webinar on it back in the spring, but it allows you to create all kinds of different activities by plugging information into a Google Sheet, and then Flippity does the magic of then turning it into a Mad Lib or a student picker or generates spelling word activities, whatever. For movement, Go Noodle is a wonderful website with videos to get the kids moving, and then having dance parties and Fun Friday kind of activities. The Flashlight Friday, I think that one was have the kids take their Chromebook under a blanket with their flashlight and read them a story. So this article takes you to all kinds of activities. This link, my daughter and I actually had a good time with yesterday. It's 200 different questions. Would you rather questions for kids? Like, would you rather start a colony on another planet or be the leader of a small country on Earth? Would you rather be able to jump as far as a kangaroo or hold your breath as long as a whale? And actually at the beginning of the list, they start out fairly simplistic that you could use with some of your littles, but then get more interesting and complicated as you go down through them. And the idea actually that I'm sharing here is, instead of having your kids just say hello in the chat so you could take attendance, you could ask them a question like this. And this link will take you to 200 of them like this. And then I liked this one that I found under an article of 4 strategies to help students feel calm during distance learning. It's a brain scavenger hunt, where scavenger hunts were one of the big ideas being kicked around online and on Facebook and whatever during the totally remote learning time frame of the spring. But this one has them find things in their home that represent certain things. Like, can you find something in your home that can change its shape, its malleability, and stretches like our brains when we learn something new? So there's 5 different brain aligned questions. I do link you out to a Google slide deck where I plugged them in, and there's a little message about why this particular thing relates, or how it relates to our brain. Like this one is about our brain's amazing neuroplasticity. And then I did want to mention, for those of you that I did catch while we were watching the video, that there were some questions about Zoom. Zoom, I believe, is available for purchase through some of your BOCES, in which case it might then be EdLaw 2D compliant, but know that Google does have on the horizon, they're supposed to be coming out hopefully by this fall, some new features that will make it more Zoom-like. Jamboard is a tool that we talk about as a companion to use in virtual meetings, and they're going to make that integrate even more easily into Google Meet. Breakout rooms are going to be added, but I think they're going to be under the paid version of Google, unfortunately. But the meeting moderation controls, giving you more control to be able to mute everyone and things like that, are going to be being added. They will be able to use an image for their background or blur out their image for privacy considerations, because not all kids want you, or parents maybe, want you seeing the setting in which they are living. So that being able to blur the background or replace it with an image will be nice. There will be a raising your hand feature. The polling and questions, I won't swear that's going to be in the free version. It might be with breakout rooms in the enterprise version, but you can read more about it at on the Google blog here with this link. So know that if you are limited to just using Google Meet, we saw that they added some features to make it more virtual class friendly in the spring. Unfortunately, some of the features they put into place, like the recording feature, is going to be going away as of September 30th, but who knows, things could change. All right, little fun break here. So I created a slide deck I'm going to link out to in just a second. And Brittany, if you want to come on voice at that point in time and let me know when people in the chat do guess accurately where I am. But all the virtual backgrounds that I'm going to highlight to you here are in a folder that were curated by this Jesse Lubinsky. So this will link you to a Google folder that has a bunch of different kind of pop culture, for the most part, backgrounds. And then unsplash.com is a wonderful web page at which you can find free photos. You just have to give them credit, and actually when you download the image, it automatically gives you the text to paste into your wherever you're using it to give the individual credit. But they have a lot of beautiful photography. So hang on just a second here. All right. Oh, this one I just threw in for humor's sake. It was a conference call bingo. Again, kind of like that video. Yeah, these are all things that we have all heard when we are in our conference calls. So I think somebody already called out the answer to this one.
Yes, they said Back to the Future. B. Woods.
Very good. What about this one? Where am I?
I know it, but I won't say it. Oh, Big Bang Theory from Carrie. She was the first one.
Yeah. Okay, what about this one? One of my favorite movies.
Wally.
Wally, yes.
Yep, B. Woods again. She's a fast typer.
She's good. This is another movie.
Finding Nemo from Andrew Duffer. Yep. Oh,
good job.
I think Heidi may have snagged it early.
And this one I was a little questionable about sharing, only because of the
Kiwi Playhouse
yes,
says Let's see. Carlene, I think, was the first to snap that one.
The gentleman that played Pee-wee has had some issues since then. So, and actually your kids, I don't know if they would recognize this or not. These are much more fun with adults, the ones I've chosen at least. Now this one's kind of computer generated, but it is also a TV show that was popular in the 90s maybe? Gilmore Girls, good job.
Yeah, good job.
Another that kind of computer generated looking, but they've got the layout right.
Golden Girls?
Golden Girls, good job.
Heidi got that.
Okay. This one, my daughter thought they brought it too close to the present time, but there were a couple of things that still, yes, Seinfeld. My daughter said, at least when Seinfeld was on, they probably would not have had this computer, but the bike on the wall, yes, but the other stuff, no. Star Trek, yeah. Friends, yes. Central Perk.
Everyone knew that one.
This one's a repeat of one you've mentioned already. Seinfeld, yes, this is the diner that they used to hang out in. This one's simple. Right. Yep.
Oh, favorite movie ever?
Monsters, Inc. Yes, I should have moved my head a little bit. So these could be used, and I could have taken these screenshots while I was in an actual Zoom, but I was doing this on Sunday, and I wasn't looking particularly Zoom friendly at the time. So I actually took a picture of myself that I don't hate too much, because a lot of pictures of myself I do hate. And I used a web page called remove.bg. It's an online tool where you can take an image and remove the background. So then I just took that image of myself and overlaid it on these different slides. And you can do the same. Or you could take any of these images, make them your background, and actually use them in a Zoom conference. And this last one, Zootopia, yes, I wasn't familiar with this one, but my children were. This is one of their favorites, although they are 25 and 30. It's still one of their favorite movies. And then these are just some examples of the Unsplash. I did a quick sunflower search and found a number of beautiful sunflower pictures, and then did underwater, I think, and came up with this one. So either that folder or these resources, and yes, I think you could have a really good time with the kids doing this. Or you could share some resources like that for them to find their own virtual background. Then virtual check-ins. So we do those periodically with our team via Zoom, and I love this one. This show is boring again. This is a Zoom conference. So Jamboard, great tool that you can use during virtual engagements with your students. This was an activity. I've linked you to a template for this, so if you want to use it. But basically you share it with your students. They're all able to interact with it. And then you share your screen during the virtual connection. Or this is a tool that you could use in the classroom. Google actually makes a board called the Jamboard, but you can use the Jamboard application without that. But here is a tutorial on using Jamboard. With this one, they would grab a sticky note, put their name on it, and rate themselves from fist to 5 on how they're feeling about. You could be using it to have them rank themselves as far as their social emotional feelings, or their feelings about, you know, what they got out of a particular lesson, or how confident they're feeling about something you're teaching them. So a range of from, you know, academic check-ins to just social emotional kind of things. And this one could be used in the same way, good, bad, or okay. They grab a sticky note, they put their name on it, they sort themselves into the appropriate column. And this is another Jamboard webinar that I believe one of my colleagues did, and this will take you to the actual template for it. This I adapted from a Move This World resource that one of my colleagues at the BOCES, Colleen Wiest, shared with me. But it's a form that the students could do on a weekly basis, or you could adapt this to indicate how frequently you want to do it, but asking them, how did they feel? Did they learn a lot or did they not learn anything? Did you understand what you were supposed to be doing? Were you happy, sad, confused, excited? Anything else you want me to know? And they can easily then submit that to you. I do link to the document itself, to the form itself, so you can make a copy of it, and then also to a Google Forms tutorial if you want to know more about making your own forms from scratch. And then here is a similar version of it, except for the parents and how they're feeling about how their students are doing and the communication that they're getting. And I have a link here to a webinar that one of my colleagues did on Google Forms. And then the topic of connecting with families. So here's our Back to the Future theme again, and rule number 1, never set it to 2020. So one thing that you could do to try to engage your families more might be activities that the kids could do and spark conversation with their families, like doing some kind of journaling activities. This is a template for them to be able to do it virtually. You can edit it and include your own guidelines about it. But you could use this periodically, and since they put the date into it, you could sort by date to look at their responses at different points in time. And just like the activity, the gratitude letters, they can indicate whether they want it to be kept private or want to share it. And if they are willing to share it, or even if you want to keep it private and put it in their own private Google slide deck, here is a Google slide template for that information to go into, and a link to Panorama Ed, where this resource came from originally. Then, again, the journaling idea. This is a template from Slides Mania, where you can do an interactive notebook. So that's just the means by which they could do this 2020 journal. And I did populate it with some questions from this article, 4 Strategies to Help Students Keep Calm During Distance Learning, where they then could type in a response or post in a photo or drawing or video of themselves acting out whatever it is. But the first question is about what are images or pictures that pop up in your mind when you think of this pandemic? So I'm kind of sharing some of the ideas from the article and also sharing the technique of using this particular template. This is a slides template, but as you can see, you can reformat slides to be whatever shape you want. They don't have to be your standard presentation orientation. They can be an 8.5 by 11 page, like a piece of paper. Oh, and then this spring, just because I thought I didn't have enough things to do, I decided that the robot that the Rick has.
Are you enjoying writing in your journal and talking to your family about the questions I'm providing? I hope you are finding them to be inspirational for your conversations. Today's question is, what are some ways you have seen other people reach out and help others during quarantine? Have a good day. Stay strong. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And thank you, garbage men and women today.
Okay, so to explain that last piece, I just showed you a piece of the video. This is the Now robot that the Rick acquired about 7 years ago, I think it was, and that I'm normally out in districts demonstrating and showing kids more about programming and all that kind of stuff. But I decided that starting in May, I think it was, Naomi on my dining room table should do a daily virtual visit. So this link here at the top of the slide will take you out to the MORIC YouTube channel and to the section where Naomi's daily videos were posted. And it did start off with her explaining that normally she'd be out in districts, then she would state what the day and date was, and what national or world day it was. Like that particular day was National Garbage Man or Woman Day. She would do some kind of little song or dance or one of her little performances, and then at the end she would present a question of the day and suggest something that they might do in the theme of whatever the day was. And so thanking their garbage men and women was the recommended task for that particular day. So if you'd like to see any more of those videos, that link is right here at the top. I found an email to myself in the middle of the night the other night, and then didn't discover it until a few days later and went, when did I do that? But found a nice little playlist. It's a gentleman who was a former teacher, now a principal. He's got a nice little playlist about with Google Classroom tutorials for parents. So they're little short 2 to 3 minute long videos dealing with different aspects of dealing with Google Classroom. So if you've got young students that the parents are having to assist them, it's helpful, but then it includes things like the Guardian summaries that older students' parents could do. So thought that in building community with your families, helping them deal with the technology, they would appreciate. And in that theme of giving the students something to talk about, think about with their families. These are some positive psychology prompt cards that I got from the therapistaid.com webpage, and I turned into little Google slides that the students could complete. So you could take this file, make a copy of it through Google Classroom, share it out where each student got their own individual copy of it, and have them periodically complete these different questions, like how has another person shown that they care about you within the past week? Because this positive psychology thinking is that any time is a good time to make a conscious effort to recognize the good things that happen to us, but I think especially now. So if you did want to try to do some kind of family video calls before school begins or during the first week, or if we end up having to do virtual parent-teacher conferences, whatever, here I link to a webinar that we did about setting up Google time slots on a Google Calendar so that people could book appointments with you easily. I also use a tool here in Mount Markham called You Can Book Me to allow teachers to book time with me. That might be another tool, but since if you're using Google heavily already, using this Google time slots and setting up some kind of office hours for people to sign up for, either for this suggested idea of one-on-one video calls at the beginning of the year, or if you do want to conduct some kind of office hours periodically throughout the weeks and year, that would be a way. Now we're getting more into things just to help you. This is a Google Slides sticky note brainstorming template that, which one of my gurus? Matt Miller, right? Yes, Matt Miller in Ditch That Textbook. He has a post on his webpage about 50 back to school activities for the remote learning classroom. And then he made a nice little organizer where if you're trying to figure out when you're going to do these different things, he has, each of these is actually a link to the directions for that particular activity. You'll recognize some of them that I shared with you already, but you could then drag these sticky notes in, or you could use this sticky note brainstorming template with your students for a variety of ideas as well. And then also stumbled onto this at some point in all of my research about what things could look like in the fall. and it was an article about creating a classroom at home, where some suggested things that you should have on hand, and if you want to invest in any additional materials, they do have a link to a tripod that you could use with your phone, our gooseneck floor stand. Maybe these are some things that even if you're in person, your districts might want to invest in to help you in creating videos and doing those kind of things. And then just some thoughts about the materials and equipment that you might want to have if you are setting yourself up with a little classroom at home or somewhere that you can comfortably connect from. So I am going to send you all out into a breakout room. I know we're getting close to the end here, but if you can spare a few extra minutes, if you have to leave, I will understand. But I wanted to give you a chance to chat amongst yourselves, but in smaller groups. So hang on just a second while I'm back. All right, let's see if I get the breakout rooms working now. How many have we got of us? 56. Let's divide that into, how about 18 rooms? All right, I'm gonna send you off into a room, but let me share my screen again one more time, because while you're there, come on. Well, I will send out a message to the breakout rooms, which I believe I can do. I've got one more Menti activity for you to do while you're out talking to each other. If it doesn't work out, just have a few minutes of conversation, and then I'll see you all back in just a few minutes. You do need to accept the invitation to join the room. And then it should take you off to your breakout room. Where then you should unmute and have a little conversation with your buds. Go. So just wanted to give you a chance to experience the breakout rooms, and hopefully you got the message I broadcast about sharing some of your thoughts at the Mentimeter site. And let's see if I can share my screen one last time. There we go. Find the right window because I've got too many open. All right, so glad to see that people seem to have gotten some ideas that they think they will give a try from our time together here. So I will be sharing. I'll probably send it out via email or post it in the chat here once I stop talking. I've got some links to some Facebook groups that I have been following and have found useful. If you are into the Bitmoji craze, there is one specifically for that topic. I have a Cricut, which is an electronic die cut machine, and there's a Facebook group for that. So some links out to some various places where you can get some ideas and support and commiserate. A lot of them have people from all over the world, so I have been able to kind of keep tabs on what's happening in other places, because people are often posting questions about, you know, okay, we're not opening our schools for another month. You have already opened there. What are you doing? How are you doing? How's it going? Whatever. Here I've got links to our MORIC video YouTube channel, where there's webinars that we did this spring. We were doing half-hour ones multiple times a week. Now we've got our recordings of the things that we've been doing this summer, like this activity, and the Naomi virtual visits are in there too. These are some of the classes that we still have yet to come, the workshops and webinars. So I link here to our calendar. And then I'm part of the NiceGate organization, and throughout the pandemic, at least through the end of the school year, they were doing some webinars, and they have an archive of them here, educators from across the state sharing things that they have been doing. So wanted to share this quote as kind of a last thought for the day. It's from this article about resources for teaching and learning during this period of social distancing. And the part that really stuck out to me that I highlighted here was that disruption and discomfort are the enemies of complacency and can spur intense professional growth. I have to say that even though I do technology every day, there is so much that I have learned through my work with all of you. I want to applaud all of your efforts in the work that you've put into this intense professional growth. When we first, when our team leader proposed these workshops for this summer, I'm like, right, is anybody going to show up? These poor teachers are so exhausted from the spring, you know, we're not going to see any of them again until September. Well, there's over 50 of you here today. So obviously many of you have jumped into this intense professional growth mindset. And again, I applaud you for that. So thank you. Here is my email. And my office phone number, which through the wonders of modern technology and a tool that we have at the RIC called Cisco Jabber, that phone number does follow me on my computer to wherever I am working remotely from. So feel free to try that number. I don't know if it goes to voicemail or rolls over to other RIC numbers if I'm not on and available, but it is there. And then I thought I would
Hi there. So this is
end
what
our
yacht
time
rock would sound
together.
like if it were written this year. If you don't know what yacht rock is, you don't have to Google
This, I think this is a series of video from this family on YouTube that's doing all kinds of fun videos in this COVID time frame. So this is embedded in the presentation if you'd like to go back and watch it later. Let me see if I can get out and try to take a look at any major questions that we've got going on here.
You're getting a lot of thank yous. This was awesome.
You are welcome.
There was a question that I did want to pass along to you, but then it got lost in the chat here. So let me look for it.
Alrighty. I'm willing to stay on for a few minutes. I understand I've already kept you all 13 minutes past our appointed hour, so feel free to hop off if you wish. Hang on just a second and let me see if I can figure out how to stop the recording. Stop recording.